What up, guys? So I said the last video was going to be the last for 2019, but I felt it was only appropriate that we started this journey with Bitcoin. So we end the year with a Bitcoin video. Before I continue, it's not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence. Research, research, research. Past performance is not an indicator of future performance. Everything I say is strictly my opinion, and while my opinion may be strong, it is still an opinion. So I am subject to being wrong, just like everyone else in the world. Alright? So, got the disclaimer out the way, but I just thought we would talk about kind of where Bitcoin is, the kind of ride we had in 2019, and really just kind of reflecting on the fundamentals of Bitcoin and why at least I believe in Bitcoin. And why some other people in the space do as well. I can't say I speak for everyone, but I'm sure I do speak. I do speak for some. So you got in at the beginning of 2019. It's been a ride for you. You've gone from 3,000 to 14,000, back to 7,500. I see people saying, "Oh, Peter Schiff. Oh, Bitcoin's down 50% from 13,000, and why would you buy this? Blah 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 blah." And it's like, well, dude, if you bought at the beginning of the year, you'd be up 100%. So, a lot of people like to twist things and take things out of context, and I try to keep it real. The truth is, let's just look at the chart. This chart that we've had on this page for so long, these two black lines, it's a 6-year channel that Bitcoin's been moving in. It's going to be 7 years next year, guys. These channels are multi-year, sometimes multi-decade channels that we're seeing Bitcoin moving in. And what makes this one so unique from any other channel, whether it's up or down, what makes this one so unique is you have to look at it from a log scale because the growth is so significant. It's exponential growth that we're seeing. The only way to chart it is to use a logarithmic chart that measures percentage increases, because this thing is growing so fast. I mean, from 2013, it was at $30, and now it's at 7,000. So you do the math. In 7 years, what kind of asset has given you that kind of return ever? There's no asset, and I don't know if there ever will be again. Bitcoin is really that once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. It's that once in a lifetime opportunity because this channel it's been moving in, this trend is going to continue until it's broken. And when is it going to be broken? Well, we don't know. This could go on for several more years. This could get broken soon, but as long as we stay in this channel, in which we have, and it looks like we're going to stay here for at least a few more years, well, that means the Bitcoin price is going to do well for a few more years. It's going to continue to grow at an exponential rate. And why is it growing at such an exponential rate? Now, we've looked at the chart, and when you look at this chart and you don't even know what it is, you're looking at the prices and you're looking at the log scale and you're drawing the lines, your resistance points, and you're looking at support. You ask yourself, why would something move like this ever? Why would something move so fast at such a high rate? It must be revolutionary. And it is. And there's so many smart, intelligent people in this space, and you have to ask, what brought them into the space? Well, there's some people who believe in blockchain technology, and blockchain technology is revolutionary. You take out third parties, and you can do automatic verification using mathematics and cryptography. And how does that change the world? Well, to me, what it seems like is this is the bridge, the Kickstarter for artificial intelligence if you really think about it. Having automatic payment systems, smart contracts to execute after certain requirements have been met. Blockchain, just having the ability to verify transactions and to validate authenticity of, maybe it's a supply chain system that you want to track some goods from start to finish. Biopharmaceutical companies, different phases of the drugs. You can look back and track back where all these drugs are coming from, you can track everything. I mean, you're creating an automated system, and that's really what artificial intelligence is, no? Because data analytics, data science, machine learning, blockchain, these are teaching the computers how to think. So once these computers know how to think and they know how to execute, then you're going to start seeing the more practical artificial intelligence stuff that you see in like maybe iRobot, robots that can interact. Self-driving cars, we're already seeing it. But these are the technologies that are the foundation for artificial intelligence, and blockchain's right there in the middle of it, right? So there's a lot of very intelligent computer scientists, cryptographers, mathematicians in this space. So think about it. What is Bitcoin really worth? Think about this. How much is Bitcoin worth? Look at the monetary system. Look at the world that we're in today. There's so much instability in the world, so much perpetual war. There's so much instability in our monetary system. In example, 2008. Bitcoin was made as a digital asset, as a store of value, and also as a medium for people to exchange goods and services. And it's decentralized. And we live in a world that's centralized, and people are getting angry. Am I saying this system isn't working? I'm not going to talk about that. You decide. But let me ask you this. In India, they took away the smaller circulating notes. A lot of people were very angry about that. A lot of people, were blacklisted because they saved their money, and the government started asking them, well, you can turn you're going to be able to cash in all these notes before a certain date, and if we don't know where it came from, then we're going to ask you, and if we don't think it's right, then we're going to take it away. China, you're seeing capital controls, right? They restricted income going in and out of the country, right? In Greece, there's limits to how much money you can withdraw in a month. 33% of all your transactions have to be electronic. In Africa, people where every single penny counts are charged 10 to 20% by Western unions and MoneyGrams to send money to other people who may need it just as much. Now you can use Bitcoin and send this money for a fraction of the cost. And you have no middle party. You have no intermediary to take a huge chunk from people that really need it. Inflation in Venezuela. Even when Bitcoin was declining in 2018, if you had bought Bitcoin even at 20,000 all the way down, given the amount of inflation we saw in Venezuela, you would still be better off. In fact, you would still be not only preserved your wealth, but you would have in fact been better off by just buying Bitcoin at 20,000 than keeping it in a Venezuelan currency, in the peso. Right? And these examples, I could go on and on and on. Look at how the Roman Empire fell. Look at the similarities to the United States. That's the kind of shock. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think we have many years to go before that happens. But the fact is, we're closer to that than we've ever been. You know, the similarities that we're seeing in today's world are very similar to what we saw in the Great Depression. Um, you know, and you look at how these empires fell. Rome, it was perpetual war. There was a, you know, fiat currency that became instantly devalued. We saw, you know, heavy expansion from Romans. We saw, you know, even when you look at other reserve currency holders like the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Dutch, um, the French, the British over the last 600 years, those currencies all fell from heavy expansion too. You used credit to expand, and eventually that comes to bite you in the ass, and that's ultimately what brought down a lot of these huge dominant you know, reigns of power between amongst these countries. You know, over the last 600 years, Portugal has served as a reserve currency, Spanish, the Dutch, the French, the British, and all these reserve currencies lasted on average 100 years. United States is very close to that 100-year mark. And yeah, we may have another 20, 30 years with the dollar as a reserve currency, but statistically speaking, historically speaking, we've seen this around this time where these currencies really start to crumble. And, you know, like I said, what we're seeing today is much similar to what we saw in the 30s. Look at the political groups. People are either strong to the left or strong to the right. And it's kind of like the unions in the 30s and then the fascists and the mega conservatives. And we saw very unstable times grow just from that political instability. Interest rates have never been this low since 1930. Income inequality hasn't been this low, hasn't been this wide since the 30s. We haven't seen stock market inflation like this since the roaring 20s, .com now. You know, there's just technologically, where were we? We had the internet, you know, now, and we have like these tech companies who are creating software and machines. Well, back then they had the telephone and the radio, and that was huge, right? Because you were reducing, you had the train, the industrial revolution, and we kind of seen a tech industrial revolution now. So, you know, there's a lot of similarities in at least over the last, you know, from the 1930s to now. So we're definitely living in interesting times. I know it kind of sounds like a rant, but you know, ask yourself that before you, you know, ask yourself what Bitcoin's worth, and ask yourself those questions before you really decide whether Bitcoin holds value or not. Because if you can't answer those questions, um, then perhaps this trend is going to continue for a lot longer. So, you know, in summary, I know this video was kind of long and it was a lot different to the topics that we do here on this page, but I thought it was important to really talk about everything that's happening in the world, you know, and that's why I believe in Bitcoin, for all those reasons. And I think that Bitcoin eventually, it hasn't even been it hasn't been adopted by mainstream society yet. So we still have a long time to go, and right now it looks like Bitcoin's just playing catch up to figure out where it's really worth. And eventually it'll consolidate out of this channel. But I mean, we're far from the end the end vision that we have for, you know, that big picture we have for Bitcoin. We're far from it, guys. 2019 was a roller coaster, but you know, the next couple years in blockchain, they're gonna be amazing. All right, so you know, that's all. Happy holidays to you guys. we'll see you in 2020. It's going to be a great year for Bitcoin. It's going to be a great year for blockchain. Hopefully the industry continues to make progress. And yeah, guys, we'll see you in 2020. I'm really excited, and that's why I really wanted to make this video. End it with a bang, regardless if you made money, if you lost money, if you bought at the wrong time, if you're still holding from 20,000. See that bigger picture, guys, and I promise you, you will be rewarded. All right, signing off. We'll see you next year, guys.